everyone, welcome to Lights, Camera, Action. I'm Allison Howard and your host for tonight. Tonight we're going to be talking to three wonderful actors who are all great, huge people in the Washington, D.C. area. So first we have Julie Garvey, Pete Garvey, believe it or not they're married, and then Brian McKeon. Thank you so much each of you for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So we're going to just start from the beginning. How did each of you get into acting? Whoever wants to start.
I grew up in the theater. My dad was a set and lighting designer, and then I majored in dance. And then probably in early 2004, when Ladder 49 came to town, I got bit by the bug and was an extra in 4 movies, and it kind of progressed from there. So
you were in Ladder 49?
I was. It was great. It was so much fun.
I love that movie.
It was awesome. John Travolta, it's my man.
Joaquin Phoenix?
Yes.
Okay, Pete, how about you?
Well, in high school, one of my older brothers was a lead in the musical, and that really motivated me to get involved. And so, at about age 15, I got my first part in a one act. So,
isn't it amazing the motivation that an older sibling will give you?
Most definitely. You know, put them on a pedestal and want to step right up.
You just want to knock them off.
Well, that too.
That too. Did you two end up studying theater in school, or?
I have a degree in Shakespearean theater.
Oh,
Yep.
Great.
Yep. And I thought I was going to be a great Shakespearean actor. Well,
I'm sure you are.
thank you.
And Julie, how about you?
My degree was in dance, so I took the dance route. Yeah, and I think that's probably. That was my main segue, but I did some shows in middle school, high school.
Of course. Did you anticipate this being your original career path when you were younger? Was being an actor something that you had fascinated, obviously, you know, wanted to do? I know, Pete, you had said that you, ever since
Absolutely.
you were little with your brother.
I was convinced this was going to be where life was taking me. And it honestly is taking me there now, but it's several years after I had anticipated.
And you had always seen yourself performing, but not necessarily.
Actually, no.
Really?
Yeah, I had a double major, dance and psychology. I was going to be do dance therapy with children. And yeah,
oh, wow.
Now I work for the federal government, so it kind of totally diverged.
Do you ever work with kids in film? Have you ever had the chance
have,
to?
yes, actually quite frequently, and it has been a lot of fun. Actually, I have gotten some really good kids to work with.
Oh, good.
But I have also seen the other side where it has been a little difficult.
Yes.
So
I've always heard that you never want to work with children or animals.
yes, yeah, yeah. I have gotten lucky, though, I have to say, so it's been good.
I think all three of you are mostly involved with film in front of the camera, but are there any roles that you guys would be interested in maybe pursuing that are behind the camera, whether it's pre-production producing or on set as being a director, or post-production if you wanted to learn how to do, you know, any other sort of job like special effects?
That is so hugely challenging, I think. There's one thing, certainly even coming in from the actor's perspective, it's sort of the icing on the cake, if you will, that all of the pre-production's been taken care of. There's just a massive team effort to bring any production to fruition. So I think I have the utmost respect for the directors, the producers, to have the creativity, the vision, to lace these stories together, to be able to then break it down into a shooting schedule. It's fascinating to me. I admire them, but I think at this point I personally am more comfortable just being on camera.
But he's dabbling in a little bit of screenplay writing too, because he enjoys writing, so that's been fun, and it's been fun to kind of collaborate and participate with it, and as far as that goes. So
well, that's a little bit more than just dabbling. I think that's a huge feat, just creating your own story. What has that process been like for you?
That's quite fascinating. Some production friends of ours, producers, met with us and said they had an interest in putting a film together, but that they needed a writer. So, well, I write, and so we started brainstorming, and for about 2 days we brainstormed, and I basically recorded everything we were talking about and kind of bullet points, and came back and wrote a screenplay and had them read through it. They're very impressed and would like to produce it. So this is...
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's very exciting.
Did you write yourself into it?
I did.
Oh,
he wants to be in front and behind the camera, you know, a little bit of do it all.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, why not? I mean, and also if you get the chance to write a character, then you know exactly what's needed. You understand the backstory, and you just you can delve into it from just like head first.
Absolutely. Give it a real depth and dimension. That,
Right.
Sort of a real personal touch.
Did you write? You wrote with a team of people, didn't you? Or was it really just you that wrote it?
The final screenplay
Okay.
itself. It was a collaboration in sort of
Creating
identifying
the
the
arc.
characters, the environment, and sort of then piecing it all together.
Yeah, I think that would be. I think it would be a much easier process to be able to have. Well, not much easier, but also just having that collaboration with people by creating the story together.
Absolutely.
I feel like that would be so beneficial because people might see things that you don't necessarily
Most
see.
definitely. And what's more is that takes a little of the pressure off when you actually have the screenplay read. Like,
Yes.
oh, I hope they love it.
Oh, right. And I'm sure they did. And obviously they did.
They did. Yeah,
Of course they
I'm so
did.
thrilled. It was impressive. Thank you.
So for you, have you wanted to delve into anything beyond acting?
Well, I did a lot behind the scenes in theater growing up with my dad, and then actually as a dancer, my freshman year, I stage managed and danced at the same time. So I was in full costume and would run off, put the headset on, do my calls and cues, switch it to my assistant, and run back on. But as far as TV and film, yeah, I think it would be interesting just for the other point of view that you don't get when you're in front of the camera. You see and how much work it takes, and I try sometimes, especially if Pete's on set and I kind of tag along, I'll help. I become an assistant grip or something like that. So I have done a little bit back and forth. It's fun. It's good to see both sides of it.
Yes.
Gives you an appreciation for everything that it takes to create something on TV, film, theater. I think it's important that everybody has that experience.
Yes, I agree. It's a huge collaborative process. Now, speaking about how you two have written roles for film and for stage and things, is there any kind of role that you've wanted to play that you haven't had a chance to play yet?
Sonny Crockett, I'm sort of, throwback to the 80s, but Sonny Crockett, Miami Vice, would love to recreate. Even if I recreated a scene. There's a scene, he was driving his car down the highway in Miami. Anyway, I'd love to do something Sonny Crockett, or maybe Steve McGarrett, Hawaii Five-0.
Okay.
Okay, something like that. Like Take Charge, maybe
Yeah.
Jason Bourne.
Yes.
I think that would be really, really awesome. On the theater side, John Adams from 1776 is a dream role of mine.
Didn't Shakespeare Theatre Company recently do 1776?
Yes, they did.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, and we opted, due to scheduling issues, we opted not to go down that path.
Yeah. And how about you?
Right now, I would say my most immediate desire would be to do a ghost role. You got to do one. Pete's gotten to do one. I've seen, the makeup and the transformation, and to look in the mirror and almost not recognize yourself. I would love that experience.
And to scare people?
And to scare people. I know. Yeah.
So
I would.
fun.
I would really like to do that. So I'm crossing my fingers.
Just have Pete write you a role.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Well, ironically, in this screenplay,
Oh my gosh. I'll have to
Maybe.
wait and see. Fingers crossed it happens.
absolutely.
So when you were talking about just now about scheduling issues with the theater production of 1776, theater does require a lot of time. So I'm sure that there are obviously scheduling conflicts within, film as well, but also just within theater. Have you found that you've opted more towards film because it doesn't require as much of a schedule commitment as opposed to theater?
Precisely, and it's an interesting sort of interpersonal challenge, if you will, that coming from a theater background, I'm all about building the character, getting to the core, really exploring the depths and sort of the before and after, and being able to do this over a period of 2 or 3 months.
Well, you've got more time to
Absolutely, in
do
TV
that
and film, you've got to make that happen in 2 to 3 days.
immediately.
So it's an interesting leap, and certainly having those fundamentals of theater and being able to apply them to the film characters, it's made that transition somewhat easier. But on the same token, it's difficult to actually get to that depth that the theatrical characters you're able to attain in that long rehearsal process.
So each of us have been obviously received the opportunity to be in productions, but oftentimes you have to go through an audition process to get there. Tell me about your your perception of auditions. What is the hardest part? What is something that you've come to learn over the course of acting for the past couple of years by going to auditions? Is there anything in particular that's been like groundbreaking for you when you've gone into an audition and had something happen and you go, I'm never going to do that again, or I'm always going to do that again?
I think first and foremost, overthinking. Overthinking the situation. It's human nature. As actors, you put yourself forward. You're selling yourself. And while that is absolutely true, you have to disconnect from that belief. You are, if you're there, if you're at that audition, you already have the tools necessary to do the job. So put that in your inner core and believe in yourself. Don't doubt in your capability and actually go forth and do it. I think that's probably the single biggest thing that I've kind of come around to. Initially, I get really, concerned. How are they going to perceive me? What if I mess up a line? What if I do something wrong? So I think
relinquish control.
Yes. Well, and it's funny too because we've been blessed to have some direct bookings, and it's amazing how when you already have it, you're confident that you can go ahead and do it, and you may have never seen this character, or you don't know what you have to do until you show up that day. And then you start thinking about it. Well, it's the same thing with an audition.
Right.
You don't know what you're going to have to do until you show up. So if I try and equate the two together to say the audition, I need to treat it the same way. I need to just jump in and do it as if I already have it. And like Pete said, if you nail it, you still might not get it. And, that's the way that the business is, and it's been a hard lesson to learn, but the faster you can get that into your head, the easier it is on you.
Yes, the easier it is on your conscience.
Exactly.
Sometimes there's only so much you can really do when you go to an audition because you don't necessarily know what is even going to happen, how much they give you to prepare for. So a lot of times you're just left up to the tools that you have.
Absolutely. And just to tack in one other thing that I've learned along the way is feel free to ask questions.
Yes.
I think there's a hesitation
That's
when
right.
you come in because these are the gods. You don't really want to upset anybody.
Right.
How are you? And go in and ask questions. What's happening in this? Can you kind of describe the scene? What is this character doing? Anything like that to help you fill it out a little bit more. And
Right.
be comfortable with it.
Completely. Have you guys been on the other side of the casting table?
Yeah, in the theater.
Okay.
In fact, I used to direct the theater group at the Naval Academy.
Oh, wow.
It was great to be able to tap into the resource potential in each person. It's interesting because to understand as the actors come in, they're already kind of locked up. They're nervous, and that's suppressing, I think, a lot of energy that they have inside them. And I think as a director, and even in the casting process, you can really create a casual, comfortable environment to help bring that energy out of them. And I think it's a wonderful process. So it helped me with a greater appreciation for working with new talent
Yes.
and kind of lifting them up to a level that they feel comfortable to get out there and really be creative and be confident in what they do. It's really a wonderful process.
That's great.
And I say that in particular because certainly in some of the auditions that we have been through, it's not that. It's a very strict strict process. You got to hit your mark and specifically under your light, and here's how you're going to deliver the line and go. And the margin's very narrow there for getting that perfection, and typically you kind of miss the mark in that setting. So.
Yeah. How about you? Have you been on the other side of the
No,
casting
luckily
table?
I have not had to make those tough
Luckily,
decisions.
you say. That's interesting
Yeah.
you say luckily.
Yeah, luckily, no. I think it's watching. I have been part of the process, not necessarily the one making the decision. I have seen it occurring. It's hard.
Yes.
It's really hard, and I wouldn't want to be in that position. So I try and stay away from that side of the table.
It's hard especially when you're in a circumstance when you have to make cutthroat decisions, and obviously only one person can be in
Right.
each role, and you don't want to let people down, and a lot of times it's like you want to write a role for each person that comes in and auditions and that type thing because you don't want to
Well, I
leave
think
anybody
too,
out.
as females, it might even be harder because we get the emotional attachment to people, and then you feel sorry for them, or oh, you knew they could have done a little bit better, but they didn't. And you got to remember that. So no, that's.
But also just by keeping the energy at a particular level and also just like making it a relaxed situation, I feel like you do optimize the ability for people to be able to perform at their at their peak.
Most definitely.
Obviously, each of us are excited with things that we're working on and things that are going to be coming up. Do you have any upcoming projects that we'll be able to see you guys in, or anything that's going to be released soon that you've been working on, or anything that's in pre-production at the moment?
I've got 2 episodes with, it's called Secrets of the Arsenal, and this is with the former military channel, now called American Heroes Channel.
Okay.
And these 2 episodes are the recreation of events that occurred in World War II. The highlight was to be shooting on the submarine, the USS Torsk in Baltimore Inner Harbor, and
What was that like?
oh, it was fantastic.
Did you get claustrophobic at
Not
all?
at all. I love it. I love the subs. I love being on board, and it was definitely a time capsule. This is an event that took place, in World War II. So you really felt it. They recreated that environment, and I won't tell too much, but it's coming up. So that's one episode. The second one was a harrowing experience. This was shot on the John W. Brown Liberty ship, also in Baltimore, and it was doubling as a heavy cruiser that was being torpedoed in the Asiatic in 1944. It was torpedoed with 90 torpedoes were fired at it, and finally the ship did sink. So this scene was the last battle.
Oh my God!
On the bridge.
How did it stay afloat?
Oh, it's incredible. It's an amazing story of heroism and loss, of course, as well. So those 2 are coming up, and also another one called American Supernatural for the Weather Channel, where it's another ghost story, interestingly enough. And this time I am not the ghost, but I try to pick up a ghost, basically.
Oh, trying to pick up a ghost.
Yeah, literally on the highway. But yeah.
Hey, man. Anything goes in today's TV world.
Yeah.
How about you, Julie? Anything coming up?
Actually, I've been doing a lot of photo shoots lately, so
Very
waiting
cool.
for those to pop up. And then we actually did an episode of Evil Kin for the ID channel, and got to play a married couple, which we frequently are asked to do. But in this one, he apparently had a little mistress on the side, and we got back together, but she decided she still was not happy and came in, and so yeah, that was so that should be coming out soon, so it'll be interesting to see. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Well, that's always fun.
So pleasant. Who knew that 30 minutes could fly by so fast?
My goodness.
I know. Thank you so much for each of you coming in and sharing your stories and all of your advice. I'm sure that our audience will love hearing from each of you. So this has been Lights, Camera, Action with Allison Howard, and I've been talking to 3 wonderful actors who work in the DC area. Everybody should hire them. And see you next time.